Inspired by IMDb and Sight and Sound, Return of the Disc presents the Top 250 Movies List, a mini-series.
And welcome back. This is episode 6 of the Top 250. Joining me as always is Tom. Glad you're here. And I went
Thanks. Glad to
first
be here.
last time. I know that for sure
Yes, because we
because
just
I'm
did
wearing
it.
the same shirt and you are too. And we recorded on the same day. But
Should we start switching shirts to hide it better?
movie magic. But yeah, so I'll let you start if you
Okay.
want this
Sounds
time.
good to me. Okay.
What you got?
My 125 is Gothic. Ken Russell's telling of the night Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein. I love that this is a period piece that is pretty crazy to start, but then Mary Percy Lord Byron and company summon a demon and it just goes insane. Who is this for? Just me? I mean, I'll take it. I can't believe this movie exists. Love it.
That's hilarious. Great insight.
Seriously though, like this movie is rated really low on IMDb, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know who the hell this is for. I mean, like,
For you.
it's for me personally, I guess. Number 124, Naked Lunch. David Cronenberg's transition from body horror to dark drama finds him adapting beat writer William S. Burroughs' drug-fueled "I'm gonna hide out after I accidentally shot my wife to death" novel. The typewriters are intelligence-gathering insects. A woman rips off her Mission Impossible disguise, and they get super high on bug powder. What a strange movie!
Yeah, it's just insane practical effects in that one too.
Oh yeah, no, it's a nutso movie. Like I'm kind of like once I saw it, I was like, I can't even believe this exists, and nobody talks about it. My 123 is Death in Venice. Luchino Visconti's adaptation of the Thomas Mann novel follows Gustav, a composer convalescing in Venice who becomes obsessed with a Polish boy, Tadzio. Mann's controversial novel of queer/pedophilic longing is just strangely fascinating to watch. The movie can be summed up as man looks at boy, and yet why can't I look away from it?
Never seen it.
I put it on and I was like, what's going on? He seems like sexually interested in this boy. Oh, that's just the plot of this movie. He's sexually interested in this boy, and they don't do anything, but they look at each other sometimes. I could see a lot of people finding it really boring, but I was like riveted the entire time.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
Number 122 is Caligula, uncut version. God damn, is this a movie? Produced by Playboy at the height of their power in an attempt to create the sort of mainstream movie/porno hybrid that Danny DeVito comes up with in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The result is a hallucinatory, thoroughly unsexy period epic starring Malcolm McDowell, Helen Mirren, and Peter O'Toole. O'Toole plays the Emperor of Rome dying of syphilis and gives in to his every mad desire. McDowell follows him onto the throne and surpasses him in rapey madness until he is ultimately assassinated. A testament on power corrupting, it stands as a bizarre film experiment that cannot be unseen.
Wow.
There's just porn just in the middle of the movie. It's really insane. And they didn't know. They didn't know when they were making it that the producers were going to do that.
Really? Wow.
No, yeah, it's like completely unethical, really, but like it's such an interesting movie. The reason I chose the uncut version is the cut version cuts a lot of the violence in the movie too, in addition to the porno scenes.
Uh-huh.
If they had just cut the porno sections, I would be like, okay, whatever. But it's actually hard to follow if you just watch the cut version because like somebody will just be dead and you'll be like, what the fuck just happened? Like you cut out their death scene. How can you justify doing that? I don't understand. So anyway, you have to watch the version with porn because that's the only one that makes any sense,
Yeah.
narratively speaking.
Interesting.
My number 121 is Crimson Peak. Guillermo del Toro's gothic romance ghost story. This movie grew on me. I didn't like it when it first came out, but it kept calling me back. The film is absolutely gorgeous to look at. It has ghosts and lush gothic settings, and the conflict ultimately boils down to a battle of wills between two strong women that turns violent at the end of the film. The twist is that the men don't matter, or in any case, have little agency in the film. A strange and compelling ghost story.
Nice. You told me that there's going to be obscure titles on this episode, and you did not. You did not let us down without. I mean, that was quite the first five there. All right, so my 125 is Blood Diamond,
Nice.
starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Connelly, and Jamon. I'm sorry, dude. Jamon Hussein. I said that. I know I pronounced it wrong. I'm sorry. But he's a great actor, and he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in this. And it's a great movie about child slaves and what being manual labor being used to mine diamonds, and just it's a better version of that one that on Netflix with Idris Elba. I forgot the name of the title, but this is the better version of that.
Yeah, the Kerry Fukunaga one.
Yeah. Yeah. I should know it, but I don't know it.
I forgot it too. It's in the Criterion Collection too.
Is it? Okay. Well, yeah, Blood Diamonds kind of went under the radar, and I really a big fan of this director, Edward Zwick. He did Glory, we talked about last episode, and just a
Really?
great acting by DiCaprio here, and the whole cast. Great. Turns into like a crazy war film and explosions and great. Yeah, it's just suspenseful. 124, based on a true story. Tim Burton, Ed Wood, starring Johnny Depp, and how can you forget, Martin Landau in this? It's just so good as Bela Lugosi. Just a great, uplifting, inspirational film about a filmmaker who just wanted to make movies, and it's just fantastic. Next one is 123. It's one that I saw in high school and it stuck with me. Dead Poet Society, another Robin Williams movie that, he puts in a great turn here as the professor. And these guys, they become, it's a dark story, really. I mean, when you see the ending, it kind of sticks with you. But there's some really inspirational moments in here, and a young portrayal here by Ethan Hawke, one of his first movies. But yeah, Robin Williams was nominated for Best Actor, and Peter Weir, another great director.
I've heard of him.
122 is one that you thought I had done before, but here we are. Before Sunset, Richard Linklater. This is the sequel to Before Sunrise, where our lovers have gone their separate ways. Ethan Hawke's character has written a book about the events of Before Sunrise and has since been married, which leaves us on a cliffhanger on this one on what does he do. But again, you see the spark between the two leads again, and it's just everything is built off of the original, and you kind of see the midpoint of this great trilogy. The next one is a Brian De Palma film, probably one of my favorite Brian De Palma films, 121, Blowout, and this fantastically, amazingly edited movie starring John Travolta. John Lithgow plays a fantastic villain in this, and it's also a political thriller. Just a great story about a sound guy who discovers a murder and basically becomes obsessed with not only one of the victims, or one of the witnesses and victims, but just the whole case in general. And it's just a greatly well done thriller. All right, that's my first five. Back to you with your 121.
My 120 is
Or 120.
Aviator. Martin Scorsese's Howard Hawks biopic starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Hawks proves a fascinating historical study as he spends his family's wealth to reshoot a war movie with sound, locks himself in a screening room for weeks on end, and crashes a plane into the middle of LA. A well-done portrait of Hollywood's golden age.
The Way of the Future.
Oh yeah. Dude, that movie's nuts. Like when the plane crash sequence happens, I was just like, this is happening in the middle of a biopic?
Yeah,
Like,
that was true though. I guess he
I
survived.
know.
Yeah.
I know. It's pretty nuts though.
Yeah, it is.
My number 119 is Beetlejuice. Tim Burton's zany movie of ghosts trying to scare people out of their house with the help of a deranged bio-exorcist. Just a classic 80s comedy. Michael Keaton steals every scene he's in.
Very true.
My 118 is The Conjuring 1 and 2. James Wan directs the true life stories of Ed and Lorraine Warren as they tackle demonic hauntings in family homes. Heartwarming and frightening, Wan and company bring humanity to the haunted house genre, featuring stellar performances from Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. Number 117, The Girl with the Dragon 2, 2011. David Fincher's American remake of the Swedish novel is stylish and taut. Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara star as Mikhail Blomkvist, a crusading journalist tasked with solving a 40-year-old disappearance, and Lisbeth Salander, the tattooed punk genius hacker who aids him in his search. The plot surrounding violence against women and the influence of the Nazis on the present has only become more relevant in recent years. Harrowing and tragic and with well-drawn characters, I'm always disappointed Fincher and company weren't allowed to adapt the next two novels that deal with the abuse Lisbeth has suffered and deepen the characterization of the two leads. And then number 116, on a very different note, Young Frankenstein. Let me find the disc and I'll hold that up. Oh, it's much earlier than I'm thinking.
Frankenstein.
Yeah. Young Frankenstein. Mel Brooks's parody of the Universal Frankenstein movies starring Gene Wilder is one of the most perfect comedies ever made. I didn't say very much about that one, but like this movie is just fantastic.
Very true.
So there you go. That was 116.
All right, 120 for me is a sleeper hit of the 80s. Eating Raoul.
Oh yeah.
Basically, there's a couple that want to be rid of the perverts down the hall, and they figure out a way to not only incorporate their restaurant, but get rid of the way to lure the perverts in, and they hit them over the head with a frying pan. It's very much Looney Tunes, and in a practical Looney Tunes, and it's a goofball, dark humor comedy. Paul Bartel directed this, and he's also stars in it. And it's just before its time, and it's just a lot of fun. It's very quirky. I really enjoyed it, and it was recommended to me, and I'm glad Criterion put an edition out.
Oh yeah, they're perverts because they're swingers. Like they're not doing anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're not doing anything bad. They're just
Yeah. There's just loud swingers down the hall, and it's sort of social commentary about that whole BDSM crowd in the 80s.
Yeah.
Number 119 is Citizen Kane. Sorry. We go from swingers and cannibalism to Kane.
No, my transition to Citizen Kane is going to be equally ridiculous. So
Citizen Kane, the heaviest Criterion, it's like a brick, and it's also I believe it's I have to say I think it's also like longer, or it's I don't know.
No, yeah, it is.
It's like reason. Oddly shaped, and so yeah, it's like
I don't care. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. It's just
it is funny,
heavy. But this is Orson Welles' in his 20s directed this, and it's still considered one of the best movies ever made. He's gave the blueprint for camera angles, how to use a camera, editing, just the technical aspects that he's given the film community, the industry. It's all in here, and then you have a great story about the rise and fall of Herman Foster Kane.
Mhm.
It's just it's one of those movies that grew on me. I thought it was very boring when I first watched it, but I think it's one you got to watch multiple times, probably twice to really maybe
Yeah,
have it go over you and to really latch on to. I would recommend watching this later in life than your teenage. I don't know. I just as a teenager I just wasn't really into it. But
yeah. It took me like 2 or 3 viewings before I even
yeah, but
liked it.
each viewing it got better and
Mhm.
just magnificent film. 118 is a silent film, also very influential to films like science fiction films like Star Wars, Metropolis. It's visually stunning. Fritz Lang's sci-fi masterpiece. It was one films that was considered lost.
Mhm.
They found new footage and they were able to salvage most of it and piece it all together in Fritz Lang's incredible original vision. And Kino Lorber released his complete Metropolis in 2010. So we have one of the best silent films ever made.
Mhm.
117, the movie that started the new Hollywood era. Easy Rider, Dennis Hopper's film, starring Peter Fonda and Jack Nicholson and Dennis Hopper himself. A biker gang going across the country. Awesome music, cool cinematography, drug infused storyline, and a heartbreaking, impactful ending. Well, 116 to round out is the last one of the Before series. 116 Before Midnight. This was actually the first one I saw out of the three. I saw it in theaters in Chicago, and man, this just goes to show you don't have to see all the other two to really get the gist of the relationship between Celine and Jesse. They this is them tackling middle age and the wear and tear of a marriage and relationship together and being together for a long time and having kids in between and just all the complications. There's a lot of honest conversation in here. And Ethan Hawke and Julie Delphi also co-wrote the script with Linklater, and it's just I think it speaks very true to relationships and fantastic conclusion to the trilogy. Or is it? Could they do more? Would I want to see more? Yes, I would like to see more of their relationship, but I'm glad they wait 12 years between films. It's kind of what Linklater does. He kind of waits to do. He likes these time period things like Boyhood. He shot that over 12 years, and he's doing one now where it's taking 20 years. So,
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's risky because you don't know who's going to be alive. It's
Oh,
just,
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, but good on him.
yeah. So, all right, back to you.
Okay. Um, my number 115 is The Fountain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darren Aronofsky's surreal portrait of a man, Hugh Jackman, losing his wife, Rachel Weisz, to disease. This is the reality of the situation, but in breaks from reality, we see Jackman as a monk-like figure floating in space, attempting to find a cure for Weisz. Well, we also see passages from Weiss's novel, in which Jackman is a conquistador on a quest for the Fountain of Youth. Another film I didn't like initially, but grew on me. Wow, the way Aronofsky explored the two leads' internal reactions to Weiss's imminent death is heartbreaking and profound.
That's one that I've wanted to revisit.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all the first time I watched it. I was like, what the hell is this? Mostly because I thought that it was going to be like the Crusader plotline, the quest
Yeah.
plotline, and then like it wasn't. That's just one of
Barely in
three.
it.
Yeah. But when I watched it again, I was like, oh, this is a visualization of their own internal journeys and how they're reacting. And once I understood that and I rewatched the movie, I was like, oh, okay, I actually really like this now. So yeah. My number 114 is The Irishman. The only Martin Scorsese gangster epic that made my list, another movie that grew on me, a film about loyalty, friendship, betrayal, and the long-term consequences of violence, loneliness, time, and memory. This is the story of the man who murdered Jimmy Hoffa. The digitally de-aging technology can sometimes be distracting, but Pacino, Pesci, and De Niro are all on the top of their game as they play these characters across decades and build a profound friendship shattered by a bullet.
Well said.
Number 113 is The Great Mouse Detective. Disney's animated Sherlock Holmes movie in which Basil the Mouse solves the mystery of a toy maker mouse kidnapped by Vincent Price's Professor Ratican and a bat with a peg leg. One of my favorite films from Disney's Dark Age. Just delightful across the board.
Mm.
Number 112 is The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Dark and gritty, this movie feels real as it drops you from a normal Texas road into a desecrated cemetery and then into the den of a deranged backwoods cannibal family. Tobe Hooper's debut film, a true horror classic, a nightmare of early 70s angst. And number 111, Django Unchained. Quentin Tarantino's tribute to blaxploitation in spaghetti westerns is a wild ride into the antebellum plantation where it gleefully blows the whole thing up with dynamite. Jamie Foxx is Django, a slave freed by Christoph Waltz's Dr. Schultz, a bounty hunter who agrees to help Django free his wife Broomhilda from slave owner Calvin Candy, Leonardo DiCaprio. Considering the pulp nature of Tarantino's inspirations, he imbues the project with surprising emotional depth, even beneath a cocaine-fueled manic pace.
You think it was that fast-paced?
I think so. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Okay. It was good.
I don't know. You compare that to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's fast-paced.
That's true. That's true. All right. 115. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Slumdog Millionaire. Danny Boyle's, my favorite Danny Boyle film. This is a highly romantic underdog story. It's just fantastic music in this. I bought the CD back in the day. It's just a great film. Won all the Oscars, and nobody talks about it anymore. But I really enjoy the cinematography, the acting, just across the board. Just a fantastic, lovely film. 114, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation. This one grew on me a lot. I think it's one of the best action films we've had in the last decade. And Tom Cruise on top of his game. Christopher McQuarrie joins as a director. This is his first one that he's done. And he's going to do all of the rest of them if they end after 9 or 10 or whatever they're going to end on. Probably 8, I guess. But Rebecca Ferguson here, though, steals the show as a rogue sniper, and we're not sure what side she's on. And I thought there was a fantastic ending here when it's just, you have to see it. But I really think for a 5th entry, this is the best one. Really enjoy this one. 113, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, a holiday classic that I watch every Thanksgiving, starring John Candy, Steve Martin. Lovable. Lovable but it's still very funny. John Hughes wrote the script, directed the movie. People that don't like each other, it's just you can find a common ground, and it's all about giving back. And as much as we're in a hurry these days, I think Planes, Trains, Automobiles gives us a portrait of what we can slow down, take it easy, and let things happen, because life is not always planned out. expect the unexpected, but I think this is a heartwarming movie that I watch every year. 112 is a tough watch, but I think it's a very important film. Mississippi Burning, starring Gene Hackman and William Dafoe, takes place in the Deep South. The Klan is running this town, and Gene Hackman and William Dafoe are in there to investigate the crimes. It's just Alan Parker directs the hell out of this movie. It's just a touching, real, hard watch at times, but it's just a great freaking movie. And one that it's a little easier to watch, 111, Kingpin, Woody Harrelson, Bill Murray, and Randy Quaid in here. This bowling comedy, a true bowling flick about Woody Harrelson who gets screwed over by Bill Murray, loses his hand, and finds an Amish boy played by Randy Quaid and teaches him how to bowl. Ends up back into the bowling spotlight where there's a big showdown between him and Bill Murray. Just fantastic movie here by the Fairley Brothers. Hilarious. Back to you, Tom.
Nice.
I just look at all the diversity of the, comedy, Deep South drama. It's just, yeah, we got it all today.
No, yeah, it's like sometimes like when I'm putting away stuff in alphabetical order, like I was looking for Malignant and it was right next to Malcolm X, and I was like, that would be a little disrespectful if that wasn't alphabetical order. But so my 110 is The Apartment. Billy Wilder brings us the story of an office worker on the rise by letting out his apartment to his bosses to use as a love nest. Content until he discovers the girl he loves is one of his boss's conquests, The Apartment is a wonderful comedy drama that isn't afraid to tackle dark issues and yet can see the humor in anything.
Good one.
109, The Devils, uncut version. Ken Russell's hypnotic film presents the true story of a small French town that stands up against Cardinal Richelieu's invasion attempts with the help of their priest, brought low when his marriage is revealed and falsely accused of devil worship by a nun who lusts after him. Brutal, tragic, and very harsh, an incredible film that presents a truly insane true story. Also, the uncut, like this one, much like Caligula, was cut a lot. Not because there's porn in it, but because the violence is incredibly brutal and there's sexual content that, like, although is not pornographic, was too much for mainstream audiences at the time. A woman masturbates with a femur bone
It's
at
Ken
one
Russell.
point. Yeah, it's Ken Russell. He's very horny. So, I would recommend watching the uncut version if you can find it. Just because it adds in some scenes that I think are emotionally and thematically relevant that were cut by censors in the 70s.
That's one I want to see.
I'll bring it next time. I love that movie. Obviously, it's on here. Okay. Number 108, Blue Velvet. David Lynch's masterpiece of a young man, Kyle MacLachlan, who finds a severed ear one day and nearly loses himself in an amateur investigation where he is forced to strip at knife point and is nearly killed by an ether-addicted madman with a fetish for velvet. Psychosexual and surreal, disturbing and fascinating with an excellent supporting cast, Blue Velvet is not to be missed. Number 107, The Breakfast Club. John Hughes brings together a group of high school stereotypes for a memorable Saturday detention. Hidden depths are revealed in each of the characters over the course of the film. An excellent character study, a goofy comedy, and just an all-around good time.
Don't you forget about me.
Yeah, exactly. I won't. I will remember you. Number 106, Almost Famous. Cameron Crowe's best film finds a young boy interviewing a band on tour for Rolling Stone magazine. Wonderfully feeling, a tender coming of age story about vulnerability and self examination, and all around beautiful film.
Agreed. That one probably should be on my list too, but it's not.
It happens.
It happens, guys. All right, 110. I love you, man. Great buddy flick here. Sorry, Jason Segel, Paul Rudd. Very likable. This guy basically, Paul Rudd, he's got engaged to get married, doesn't have any guy friends. So he sets out and tries everything to find a best man, and ends up trying to befriend Jason Segel, who's the opposite of him. He's more of a womanizer, free spirit, openly talks about sex, and this kind of gives Paul Rudd a new eyes and puts his engagement to the test. Anyways, it's a comedy though. It's not a drama, and there's a lot of heartwarming stuff in here, and I just think it's one of those comfort movies for me. So I really enjoyed it. 109 is a science fiction classic from the 90s. I don't know if it's classic, but it's very great. Grew on me. It's Gattaca, starring Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, and Jude Law. Sorry. It's a great film that's set in the future and genetically engineered, building the perfect DNA, goes into all those themes. And then there's, space travel in here. And it's a movie for dreamers, and it's really well done. Fantastic. It's not as big of a science fiction as you would imagine typical sci-fi to be. It's more of a grounded laboratory movie, but it's got a lot of scientific themes that are very interesting still to this day.
Nice.
Next one is 108. Taylor Sheridan, who started his own little Yellowstone universe now, but his first film script, Hell or High Water. Chris Pine probably gives his best performance in this. Jeff Bridges is great as well, and Ben Foster is amazing as well. It's just a great little. I guess it's more of a neo-Western crime flick that I really enjoy, and I love the steelbook. It's just how the sunglasses thing comes off, but
yeah,
great examination of two brothers trying to save the farmland, and then an aging detective played by Jeff Bridges is on the trail. So if you haven't seen this one and you like any of the Taylor Sheridan stuff, I highly recommend Hell or High Water. 107. This one is a new one that I saw recently within the last year. Really blew me away. Coming Home. This is an actor powerhouse. John Voight plays a liberal here, hippie, and anti-war. He's injured in Vietnam and disabled, and he falls in love with Jane Fonda, who's a nurse, who's also married to Bruce Dern, who's really into the military. He's serving. He's never home. He's always serving. But it's really great commentary on the whole Vietnam War situation. Really touching. Directed by Hal Ashby. Really moving drama here. That it really surprised me how well it holds up, and that ending speech by John Voight is just moves you. 106 is a movie that got me into silent films. The Artist. It's kind of a crazy movie how it won Best Picture and won these Oscars, and it's basically a silent film. Love the dog in this. Love the choreography. The music is fantastic, and a lot of the director is a French guy, Michel. I don't want to ruin his name, but he's a great French director, and this movie just became this sensation that nobody watches now, but I still enjoy it. Yeah, it really gave me it was like my gateway drug to silent films.
Oh yeah.
All right, I think that
Cool.
yeah. One more One more stack of 5 left for both of us.
Yeah. Okay. My number 105 is There Will Be Blood. Paul Thomas Anderson brings us the story of Daniel Plainsview, a ruthless oil tycoon who will stop at nothing to get to the top. He meets resistance from Paul Sunday, a local preacher, and the two clash spectacularly. Visionary, chilling, a haunting portrait of the darkness at the heart of the American dream.
Good one.
I gotta find next. There we go. So then, I didn't renumber these.
Uh-oh. Changing on the fly here.
Okay, that's right though. All right. Well, I moved one movie in my top top 100 up. I ended up combining them because I was talking about the two of them separately, and I was like, these are really companion pieces. I'm going to put them in the same entry. So then that moved everything up one. But anyway, my 104 is Fantastic Planet. A French animated sci-fi film from the 70s finds us in a fully realized world in which gigantic blue aliens keep humans as house pets. A group of humans band together and begin an uprising, strange, sweet, surreal, and beautifully animated. Yeah. Number 103 is Night of the Living Dead, 1968. George Romero's debut feature about the dead rising from their graves and a group of survivors who barricade themselves in a house only to turn on each other. Dark, hauntingly filmed in black and white with a black lead, a true 60s classic, an incredibly influential film. Number 102 is a twofer. It is The Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers. Richard Lester's adaptation of the Alexander Dumas classic. D'Artagnan wants to join the Musketeers, the king's bodyguards, and becomes entangled in court intrigue against the scheming Cardinal Richelieu. A very accurate adaptation of the novel, which enhances the comedic undertone to great effect and boasts an all-star cast.
And it's very funny.
It's really funny, which when we first watched it, we saw it at the New Beverly together, and it was a double feature. So there's an intermission between the two parts. And we came out of part one, and I was like, part two gets pretty dark. I don't know how they're going to handle that with the comedic tone, but they did it. And they kept the dark beats from the novel in there, and still, I don't know. It's an incredible balancing act, truly. Like, I am surprised at how funny they were able to make it, and yet kill main characters and then have the main characters execute somebody in the second half, and like it still works. Like, all right. Number 101 is Eyes Wide Shut. Tom Cruise is a doctor called to make a late night house call in late 1990s New York City after a fight with his wife, Nicole Kidman. Angry about a very sexual dream she had, Cruise flirts with infidelity in increasingly absurd and sexually charged situations. A dark comedy and swan song of director Stanley Kubrick. An enigmatic film that keeps me coming back. An anti-Christmas movie with a circular plot structure broken in half by an infamous masked orgy.
All right. Well done. That's just a fitting conclusion to your list for today.
Yeah.
All right. 105 for me is a Disney classic. Cool Runnings. Starring John Candy about the first Jamaican bobsled team to hit the Olympics. Pretty much paint by numbers, but it's a great flick from my childhood. Really enjoy this one. We need a Blu-ray, Disney, but I know you won't do it. Next one is 104, and that is Christopher Nolan's best Batman movie, in my opinion, The Dark Knight, starring Christian Bale. Heath Ledger, of course, plays the Joker here, and possibly the best Joker portrayal. I mean, it's just so good. Probably makes the movie, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's more... I mean, yeah, if you didn't have Heath Ledger in this, the movie would not be as good at all. but it's just so good, so well directed by Christopher Nolan. I think I saw this several times in theaters. Just one of those movies that sticks with you, and like we were watching that film and we saw the ad for this and we were like, oh, we got to put Dark Knight on because it's one of those movies you drop everything for and you watch. My next one is 103. This one surprised the heck out of me. It's technically a sequel, but it's also like a reboot of sorts. James Gunn's, or it's also like a revenge on what happened to James Gunn. I don't know. I just feel like James Gunn let a lot out in this film, and that is the Suicide Squad. He worked out a lot of his stuff from with the whole Marvel controversy. Joined DC, made the Suicide Squad. Now he runs DC. But great film here. One of my favorite comic book movies of all time. It's just so funny, dark humor, graphic violence, and Sylvester Stallone plays King Shark. So you can't go wrong with that. Margot Robbie's back as Harley Quinn. Idris Elba is fantastic as well. It's just a great movie, and it led to a spinoff, Peacemaker, which shouldn't have been made, should have died. But anyways, people like Peacemaker. 102.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay. So people love it. But,
No, they do.
102 is Kubrick as well. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Just got it on 4K. I haven't watched it yet, but it's one of those movies where I'm like, do I like this movie? Do I know what happened? No. And I mean, visually stunning and way ahead of its time. And it's just still amazing what was accomplished with this movie, in my opinion. It's just, I saw it in IMAX recently in the new 4K restoration. It's just blew me away. And I don't even know fully what it's about. I'm going to presume it's a cautionary tale about technology and there's also stuff in here about life and birth and evolution, and just it's an experience, guys. So if you haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, highly recommend. And last but not least, the one that started Pixar, 101, Toy Story. You are a toy. You're not real, or whatever. I don't know what he says. Something like that. But Tom Hanks voices Woody and Tim Allen voices Buzz Lightyear. Just a fantastic little film here. It started a big boom in animation and really changed it to what we know as today as far as animation for Pixar. Got them on the map with Disney, and it's just great film. Really enjoy this one from childhood, and it's just Randy Newman, man. You got a friend in me. So you got a friend in me, Tom.
Yeah, you have a friend in me.
All right. Well, that'll do it for episode 6 of the Top 250. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let us know below your thoughts on all the films that we present today, and what are your next phase? Do you have any on the list? You know, do you predict anything in the future that we're going to have on here? Let us know below. Thanks again for watching. Peace out.
For more Return of the Disc, visit returnofthedisc.com. Check out the audio version of today's show, available on all major podcast platforms. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel.